what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So this video, I'm going to give my pick for the Eddie versus Thor fight. All this time we've been talking about the fight. I haven't said who I think is going to win, so that's what I'm going to do in this video. Obviously, this week is fight week. It's going to be on the 19th on segi.tv, segi.tv, and it's going to be free, which I think is really good because I don't think a whole lot of people would be paying for this. At this point, honestly, I think the marketing has not been good. The promotion has not been good, but I'm still excited to see the fight. I still think this rivalry is a very fascinating one, and I really want to see what happens here because I think there is legitimate, genuine bad blood between these two guys, and I think it is going to be some actual emotion in this fight. But like we talked about yesterday, I mean, the fact that they try to take down this video, the confrontation video, which I think was the biggest point of promotion for this fight up until this point, seeing them confront each other at this boxing gym was like the most exciting part of the buildup for this fight, other than the original call out back when, what was that, 2 years ago already, when Thor called out Eddie in the first place. So they took down pretty much the biggest piece of promotion for this fight. But first, let's get into the stats here. Let's talk about the stat differences between Eddie and Thor, because I think that's going to be really where a lot of the advantage and disadvantage comes in. So Thor, he's 33, 6'9", 321 pounds, and he has an 80-inch reach. Now, Eddie is 1 year older at 34. He's a full 6 inches shorter at 6'3". So Thor he does enjoy a pretty crazy height advantage over Eddie. Eddie weighs 339 pounds, so Thor is lighter than Eddie. So Eddie has, I guess, what you could call a weight advantage. And then also, they've got this, they're listed as having the same reach. They've both got an 80-inch reach. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I would imagine that Thor being 6 inches taller and having the frame that he's got, I would imagine he's got a little bit of a better reach than Eddie, but they have it listed that they've got the same reach. So let's take a look at Thor for a second, because honestly, Thor's transformation over the past couple of years has been one of the most impressive things I think I've seen in any of these strength sports or bodybuilding. I mean, when he hit that deadlift, the 501 kgs, which is what broke Eddie Hall's 500 kg record, and that's what started, well, that's part of what started this whole controversy. A lot of this beef stems from the 2017 World's Strongest Man. But when he broke that deadlift record, Thor weighed around 450 pounds. So if he's weighing in at this fight at 321 pounds, that means he's lost almost 130 pounds for this fight. That is dedication. That is work ethic. And that is an athlete. And seeing that transformation, honestly, has been one of the most impressive things I've seen across any of these sports over the past couple years. I really think it's a very impressive accomplishment, the way that Thor has transformed his body for being effective at strongman, being effective at deadlift, being functional at those things, to being functional at boxing. I think it's truly impressive, and I think it shows what kind of an athlete Thor is. And again, the work ethic that it would take to get to the point that he's at, I think is very impressive, and that counts for something. Now, Eddie is impressive in his own right. I know that he has dropped some weight for this fight, but it certainly hasn't been to the extent that Thor has. But Eddie has some boxing experience. I think even prior to Thor, Eddie had some exhibition matches way before they ever even talked about this fight. So I think Eddie does have the edge of having some extra boxing experience. And I think he also has said that he's had exhibition fights recently, but they have not been promoted or televised or streamed like some of Thor's exhibition bouts have. So comparing boxing experience is really hard to say. Comparing physiques, obviously, Thor enjoys a pretty significant advantage over Eddie from a height standpoint, I think from a reach standpoint, and maybe from an endurance standpoint, because he is going to be lighter than Eddie, despite being taller than Eddie, which I think is an important thing to take note of. And again, I'm no boxing expert by any means. This is all just for fun. But the fact that he is taller and lighter, and the fact that if you look at Eddie's physique, I think Eddie holds a lot of his weight in his core, in his midsection. And the point of saying that is that Thor's weight looks to be distributed more evenly throughout his body, which I think would play more to the endurance side of things, having more evenly distributed body weight, and he's lighter, being taller, which I think says a lot. And again, I don't really have a horse in this race. I don't know Hafthor at all. I've never had a single conversation with him. I don't even think I've met Thor at any of these expos or anything. So I don't know him at all. I'm a fan of both guys. Obviously, they're both very impressive athletes. I know that me and Eddie had a little bit of a beef back in the day when he was accused of photoshopping his pictures. But I did actually meet Eddie in person shortly after that at the 2019 Arnold Classic, I guess it was. He was a really nice guy in person. We worked our differences out, and he was just a very genuine, nice, good conversation. So I've got no problem with either guy. I don't really have any personal connection to either of them. So I don't really have a bias or a reason to root or pick either one of them. I don't really have any horse in the race, like I said. So with that being said, my pick to win the fight is going to be Thor. And I'll tell you guys why. So the first part of that is what I said earlier. I think overall, he has the more athletic build. I think his weight is distributed more effectively for endurance. I think the fact that he's 6 inches taller, I still think that's going to give him a reach advantage, even though they have the reaches listed as the same. Seeing that confrontation video, even though it got taken down, he looks substantially bigger than Eddie Hall, even though he's leaner and lighter, which I think is going to be a big advantage for him. Now, the other reason why I think Thor is going to win is I think this is going to come down to who has the most endurance. I think what everybody wants to see is a knockout in this fight. I think that's what everybody wants. That would be the most entertaining outcome. But I think in all likelihood, that's probably not what we're going to see. If it is, that would be awesome. I'm not saying I think that Thor is going to knock out Eddie. What I think is probably going to happen here is we're going to have an intense first round where these guys give it everything they got. They're going out, probably throwing haymakers, and really going for each other with emotion because it's the first time they get a crack at each other. So the first round, I think, is going to be eventful. If there's not a knockout in the first round, which I don't think there will be, and this fight goes the distance, I think the fact that neither of these guys are professional boxers, this thing is going to get sloppier and sloppier the further it goes. The more rounds this thing goes, it's really going to come down to who has the most endurance, because I think they're really going to start to fall apart in the later rounds. They're bigger guys. They're billing this thing as the heaviest boxing match in history. I think these guys are going to get gassed out after the first round. So I think it's really going to be a matter of who can hang in there the longest with their cardio, with their endurance, and who can just stay on their feet the longest. I think this is what this is going to come down to. And Eddie, he's going to be heavier, and he's shorter. I don't think his weight is distributed as effectively. And he is coming into this fight off of the bicep tear. Now, granted, he says he's fully recovered, but that is something that I think is going to factor in. I mean, your bicep is a pretty important factor in throwing a punch. We got to consider the fact that that might be an issue for Eddie. I also think that after seeing that confrontation clip, Eddie seemed a lot more emotional about this fight than Thor did. And we see this happen a lot in a lot of the fights that we've seen recently, where emotion gets the best of people and they rush in and they're using their emotion and not necessarily their skill, where I think Thor isn't as emotional about this as Eddie. And that could be an advantage for Thor, where Thor can focus on technique and not let his emotion get in the way and want him to just go out and crack Eddie as many times as he can or as hard as he can, like Eddie might for Thor. So, that being said, my pick to win the fight is Hafthor Bjornsson. Let me know in the comment section below who your guys' pick is and why. And then give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you like it, and that helps out a lot. This is probably going to be the last video I do on this fight until after the fight has actually happened. Now, the company that asked me to take down the confrontation video, they said they're going to allow me to use some clips from the fight on the channel that they're going to send to me. So we might have some bonus footage or something cool from them to show you guys. So definitely stay tuned from that. Click that subscribe button. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.